Hey everyone, thank you for listening to another episode of Spoiler Force Podcast. You can find more episodes on Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, or YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe and make sure to follow Spoiler Force Podcast on Facebook.
This is Benyamin Nuss, and you're listening to Spoiler Force Podcast.
Alright, so this is episode 49 of Spoiler Force Podcast. My name is Ricky, and thank you for tuning in. I did want to thank Hmong Productions for letting me use their tracks in the podcast here, so thank you guys for letting me use your music. This episode here, I'm very excited to do, and honestly, I was not even sure that if I was going to get this guest, but I did, and I'm so excited for this. The guest I have here is a pianist. He's done music for Final Fantasy and with Final Fantasy and the live orchestra. Let me introduce my guest here, Benyamin Nuss. Thank you so much for doing this, and I understand that you're still in Germany right now, right?
Yeah, thank you for having me.
How is it like right now in Germany? I know with this health crisis going on, you've been off pretty much this month. I know that you were supposed to tour, right?
Yeah, basically all my concerts are cancelled, and which leaves me with this huge amount of time getting things done, which I usually don't get done. So it's pretty good actually. I mean, the situation is very bad, of course. It has also good sides, staying at home and getting some work done. Of course, it's better also to stay in and not spread it around. That's the only thing I can do right now.
That's pretty much how I'm doing things too, just staying home. And for the fans who don't know who you are, can you kind of just like talk about where you grew up and how you got into music?
I grew up in Germany. My dad is a jazz musician, a trombone player in the WDR big band in Cologne, and my mom is Singaporean, an English teacher. Pretty much all my life I've been living here, had started my piano lessons here, and actually also my career started here in my first concerts, and then my first encounter with Nobuo Uematsu. I grew up in the town of Cologne, which has a very, very huge musical history. When I was about 20 years old, there was a game music concert here, which was called...
Oh, excuse me, but I think, is your mic rubbing on something? I
Oh, could be, yeah.
I just wanted to make sure because I was picking up the back noise on that. So can you?
Sorry.
Yeah, it's all right. Can you kind of repeat what you last said?
I grew up in the city of Cologne, which is known for a huge music culture and a jazz scene. And when I was 20, there was a game music concert called Symphonic Fantasies, where I was invited to play, basically. And it was actually pretty funny because I won a scholarship to participate in this concert with the symphony orchestra, the radio symphony orchestra. They made me choose which production I wanted to do, basically. Then they were talking about like film music, Michael Nyman, the piano, and like really interesting projects. And then they came up with a word, game music. I was like, what? Game music? Seriously? Because I have been a gamer since I was a kid. So I said, I want to do this, definitely. So they invited me to play in this production, Symphonic Fantasies. What I didn't know is that they invited all these composers like Nobuo Uematsu, Yoko Shimomura, Yasunori Mitsuda, Kikuta-san. I didn't know that till maybe 4 days before the concert, so I was pretty stressed out, got really nervous, and then the concert came and I met all these composers. And Arnie for the first time also, who is the conductor and producer of Distant Worlds and A New World, together with Eric Roth. I think that was an event which was very, very important and has led to many opportunities.
I guess with Final Fantasy music, was that something that you kind of wanted to play from the get-go, or was it in general just when it came to gaming music?
Definitely. I mean, when I met Nobuo for the first time, it was interesting because he was such a humble and nice guy. And he was also the only one who knew how to speak English. And at that time, I couldn't speak Japanese yet, so I couldn't communicate with the other composers so well. And he was really, really a sweet guy and very humble and interested. And it was really cool to talk about music and everything with him. In this 3-4 days, I met him. I was planning on doing a game music album already. The plan was actually to do a mixed album, not only Uematsu-san's music, but also like some Nintendo music and other stuff. But when I met him the first time, I thought, man, it would be great to do a dedication to Nobuo Uematsu. We talked about it and planned it. And then the next year, my solo album Nuss Plays Uematsu came out. I kind of wanted to already record some Final Fantasy music, but I think meeting Nobuo also in person was a big factor to also lean towards his compositions and Final Fantasy music.
And is that when you made the? I guess there's a clip on YouTube when you did meet Nobuo, like around 2010. Is that the moment you were
Yes,
kind of talking
that
about?
was a little later. I think that was about half a year later, or a little more than a half year later in Sweden. And I met him, and he wanted to actually invite me to Japan to Distant Worlds. I met him and Arnie, and then my first trip to Japan was planned basically in October, and it was very exciting. Yeah,
It's pretty nerve wracking to meet a composer like Nobuo,
yeah,
and I grew up with his music, playing the games, and it's always been something that's. I guess growing up, it's always something that you always recognize. You know, like for example, To Xanarkin's one of my favorite
yeah,
compositions that he's done. Honestly, like I never really thought of it like this too, because playing games and stuff, they always have like that classical background music, and it's something that
yeah,
kind of gets embedded into you, especially when you just play games. You don't really recognize it at first, and then hearing it in live in person and going to like these concerts, it's really I guess you can see the even hear the nostalgic factor of that.
yes,
And so,
definitely.
was there any other, I guess, composers as well as that helped you, I guess, inspire you to continue to pursue music?
You mean like continuing playing game music, or like also in my music, or
Pretty yeah, pretty much. Overall, your music career, besides having like your parents and Nobuo, were there any other I guess composers or artists that you also followed or found influence from?
there are a lot. I actually don't like to categorize music, so I actually grew up with a lot of different kinds of styles of music. So my dad is a jazz musician, but he wanted me to do classical first because it's better for the piano playing if you learn classical, the technique and like all the skills first, and then like go into jazz. Our household was full of classical music, jazz music, and other kinds of music as well. Musicals, a lot of like old American music, like Frank Sinatra, and this swing music, Duke Ellington. Pretty much a lot of jazz musicians, and of course classical, old like composers, Beethoven, Mozart. And then later, when I met Nobuo, of course, and went to Japan the first time, I met a lot of other composers as well, like Masashi Hamauzu, which I guess with Nobuo Uematsu and Yoko Shimomura, I mean, there's so many really amazing composers over there in Japan, and I have I have to say, like Masashi Hamauzu is definitely one of the biggest influences because somehow when I listened to his music the first time, I had the feeling I could understand what he wants to say when he uses this harmony or this melody, or he changes colors in this piece and stuff. I felt very close to him somehow. And then I met him the first time and played some compositions of mine for him, and then we started working together the next year already. So, I mean, there are so many people I have to thank actually, and I got influenced by even like Arnie and Eric. I mean, it has been like a long journey already. I mean, it's 10 years now. It has been set 10 years, and I I think everything has been an influence on me.
With that included, like I think recently you also created your own album, correct? You made your is this your first solo album that you've made recently, or is this was it like a collaboration, right?
I did actually a lot of albums. My first album was dedicated to Nobuo,
Okay.
which was about 10 years ago now already. And then after that followed a lot of CDs with Masashi Hamauzu. And then, yeah, last year I did another Final Fantasy album, which was dedicated to Nobuo Uematsu, Masashi Hamauzu, Yoko Shimomura, Soken, and Sakimoto-san.
I saw another video that you did. It was the Eyes on Me video,
Yeah.
and that was shot really well. And I love your take on it too, because like you put your own mix with on that
Yeah.
song, and that's such a classic song. It's great that you put your own spin on it. And when it comes to like writing music, I'm not really trained too well with classical music,
Hmm.
so
Sure.
when it comes to composing that kind of music, what makes it different from like I guess when you hear from music in the radio and stuff like that, like.
You mean like creating and playing or listening?
Yeah, like the comparisons of creating music that you make versus like how other artists make music, like whether it's for the radio or like mainstream media. Because
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
because like a lot of the people that I have on my podcast here, a lot of them are
Hmm.
like they're rappers or R&B singers. So you're the first that I have that's a classical. I guess you could say classical musician. Like you
Yeah.
do classical music, and you go to you're actually on tour with these concerts and do like a lot of these composed music versus like doing just like a hit song on the radio. So when it comes to, I guess what I'm trying to ask is like the comparisons of that. When you write your own or compose your own music, do you see like a big difference in that, like when it comes to mainstream versus the things that you do?
I have, I must say, I have never written a hit yet, so I don't know how the feeling is and how people do that. But I think creating your own music and your own stuff, I guess you could compare it to maybe like writing a book or making a movie. It's a very personal approach. So it basically is what goes on in your head, more or less, or like the state of emotion you are in, and like if you're for instance, if you're lovesick, then you write like really sad tunes, or if you I don't know, whatever. If you're really happy or you have been in a really great place, like I don't know, New Zealand or I don't know, and it all becomes art basically. So that's all I can say basically. And if I'm on stage at a New World concert or something, I'm playing Those Who Fight, of course. And the difference is that, of course, if you know the game, you automatically have the images of the game in your head, and a feeling of a nostalgic feeling, and that helps you like I mean, if you know the game, you just on the spot can get into the tune very, very good, and makes you play the piece more intense, I guess.
I've seen you play that too, and it's hearing that on piano. I remember when they released the Advent Children film for the first time, and hearing that piece play on the piano, and how crazy it was. Like me and my cousins when we were younger, we would always try to figure out like how do they play this, on the piano. Like it's so hectic, and it goes with like the theme of fighting, and just to see you play that live, and even like seeing videos on YouTube and stuff, like seeing the different angles of how you played the song and how fast paced you're moving. It's so crazy. Like I can't really comprehend it because I'm not a piano player myself. So like this, when I see it, it's just like whoa, man. Like and you see like the notes that you have spread out in front of you, but from what it looks like, you don't even look at the notes there. You're so into the song already, and you're moving so well and so fluidly. So it's so crazy to see how you play that song without even like missing a beat. Was there any points when you play songs like that? Do you kind of do any improvisations at all? Have you ever done anything like that?
It depends on the piece. With Those Who Fight, the arrangement is like fully written out in notes. So it's also a pretty awesome arranger who did that. His name is Shiro Hamaguchi, and he worked on all this orchestral arrangements in Final Fantasy 7, in 8, 9, and 10. So all the tunes, Suteki Dane, the ending theme in 10, or Eyes on Me, Liberi Fatali. I mean, all those pieces are arranged by Shiro Hamaguchi, and he did the piano versions of some tunes in of Final Fantasy 7 and 8, 9 and 10, and he's really a genius. And Nobuo also says so, and he really makes this those who fight. You know the game version, right? It's a dot 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 dot, dot. It's like
Yeah.
very like square, right? The thing is, when if you want to bring this piece on stage, you can't do it like square like that, like in the game, right? It has to be more exciting. So his approach is on this tune is pretty awesome because he has this. He writes it like in difficult, like really you need a lot of skills to play it, and you have a lot of jumps and like fast movements. So he adds like a lot of like stuff to it to make it more intense, and to have this fighting intensity, yeah, to show it. And I do some improvisation sometimes, but I feel like in this arrangement, everything is like so perfect that I don't need to actually.
That's pretty cool that he's able to break down the music into like just piano. And like I know that like, Final Fantasy Square, they released like albums where it's just like the piano pieces itself,
Yeah,
and I think that's really it's really awesome to hear like the music you hear from the game transition into piano pieces. I think like for me, one of my favorites was the Final Fantasy X music, and
yeah,
having hearing all those pieces in piano and stuff like that. It's written out
yeah.
so well.
That's yeah, it's really beautiful. Yeah.
You've been playing these kinds of music for so long. Do you ever get tired of playing like the same music over and over again?
Actually, no, because yeah, every time I play it on stage, it's a new audience, it's a new piano, a new environment, and new situation. So I never get tired. It's always exciting. I mean, you get nervous while you're on stage anyway, so it's always exciting. And the pieces are, I mean, the music is so great that it can't get boring.
How often do you practice them when it comes to before whether you're on tour or not on tour? Do you still find yourself practicing quite a bit every day?
It depends on the situation. When I was touring with the New World in Australia, I had a piano concerto piece with orchestra coming up, 35-minute piece with orchestra coming up, like after the Australia tour, basically. And so I had to one day or like 2 days rent keyboards to our room and just like practice, or else I wouldn't have made it. So there are situations where I have to prepare like other stuff while I'm on another tour, or even write like pieces or compose when I'm actually still on another project. Then it's important to have a piano, and definitely it's important to like move your fingers, or yeah, just prepare stuff. You don't want to be unprepared, basically. Um, for those who fight, it's a little different. I mean, I've played it so many times. I still sometimes practice it, but since I've played it like so many times, I feel like if I would practice it really intensely, like every day, like 1 hour or something like that, that would make me tired, because there are always spots where you like in the arrangement or like in the piece where there are surprises hidden. It's like a game, basically, like in RPG where you still have to find some like secret treasure, or you have to still find the secret boss and stuff. It's the same with music, basically. There's still like stuff which are hidden, and you don't want to like work too hard on it to still have fun when you perform it.
How is that like to perform a composition or arrangement like the one you mentioned in Australia for 35 minutes? That's a long song. Honestly, I guess I never realized that compositions can go that long too. I think like the longest I've ever listened to was probably like 10 to 15 minutes at most, but
Yeah.
to listen to a 35-minute composition, and that's pretty intense.
Yeah, I mean, in the classical music, you have like symphonies which can even go up to 90 minutes, 90 minutes. So, uh, I mean, it's different. The thing is, in classical music, you have to memorize everything, you know? So you have this big book of notes, and you have to basically get it into your head. That's the most important thing. So once you have all of it memorized, picture having, I don't know, a book of poems like memorized. So that's the same. So if you have it memorized, uh, it gets easier. So you just have to work on the skills and practicing like hard uh, sections and stuff like that. I guess that's the hardest part, like memorizing it.
That seems, at least for me, that seems pretty difficult. I don't know if I could sit there and memorize a 35-minute arrangement. I can barely memorize a song, like a 3-minute song. So, man, that's a lot of credit to you for doing that.
Yeah, it's just practice. I mean, it's just like routine. I guess if you do it more often, it's no problem for anybody, I guess.
And I wanted to ask as well, like since you did grow up playing the video games as well, um, have you ever had the opportunity to meet like anyone from Square or
Yes, the
like
first time I was,
like
well,
besides Nobuo, like have you met like any of the game producers too?
I haven't actually met Sakaguchi-san yet, but I've met people like Yoshida-san from Final Fantasy XIV, uh, the director, a couple of people. I mean, also like actually, I've played in front of the bosses too, like the big bosses, basically, and different composers, sound designers. It's more in the music section, of course, but like with Yoshida-san, I actually met a couple of times also like outside of concerts, like when he was in Germany at the Gamescom. He was like, "Oh, you want to have dinner? Let's have dinner,"
Oh,
or
nice.
something that, which is really cool. Um, and I mean, since 2010, basically, when I was in Japan for the first time, I got to meet a lot of stuff like from Square, and since then, because I also did the Uematsu album in 2010, um, we became friends basically pretty quick, and I got to work also on not only Disney World's A New World, but also the Kingdom Hearts World Tour and the Final Fantasy XIV fan fests. So, I mean, I'm really happy where I'm at right now, and I'm really thankful to have had the opportunity. Also, thank you to Uematsu-san and Arnie and Eric for coordinating all this. And I mean, yeah, there's yeah.
Sorry to cut you off there, Ben. Your mic is still. Yeah, I didn't want to like cut you off during like what you were saying. I just kind of wanted to let you know that way doesn't distract fans from what you're saying, because a lot of the things that you say are very intriguing. You know, to know that going from music has gotten you to meet like these producers and directors and just the people in Square and meeting again with Nobuo Uematsu and all these composers. And did you ever see this coming at all? I guess when you were first starting.
No, because I would have never, I mean, when I was in my teens, I would have never imagined that game music was such a big thing. I mean, when was that? Like 15, 16 years ago? There were people like around me who played those who fight in like some classical competitions already, which was really interesting, I thought. But I wouldn't have imagined that there are like really game music concerts. And compared to 10 years ago, when there were maybe, I don't know, I'm just giving you some numbers, but maybe like 10 years ago, there were 30 concerts worldwide. now it's like a big thing. Now you find concerts everywhere and frequently. Like I would say it's maybe about 1,000 or a year or maybe more. Um, and I would have never imagined me playing game music on stage, you know. It wasn't a big thing at that time yet. I mean, in Japan, they were doing already game music concerts since, I mean, 1987 or something. But yeah, I didn't know really, and now it's really clear to me, and the audiences are really amazing, and I can totally understand it because the music is just amazing, and I'm also happy for people. You know, I mean, live music is an interesting thing and incredible experience as well. And to have people, I mean, I know it myself because sometimes I'm at home and I just play games also, and I don't go out. You know, I'm just at home the whole time. But to go into a concert hall and to experience a concert with thousands of other people is something very, very special, and to bring experiences also to people who maybe usually don't go to concerts that much is awesome, really.
The Distant Worlds was one of the first, I guess, concerts that I went to that had like the arrangement of composition and stuff like that. Nothing like what you hear on the radio, you know. So it was different for me, and I think I was in middle school still, like in eighth grade, going on to high school, and so my parents
Yeah.
bought me tickets for Distant Worlds, and my cousin took us, and that was such a unique experience because like I didn't know that like some of these Final Fantasy concerts or even Kingdom Hearts, because I went to the Kingdom Hearts concert like 2 years ago, and they,
Cool.
you know, having the screen, and then the it's more than just the music too. Like the experience that you're getting from that is just, it's very it's overwhelming in a good way, and you're
Yeah.
like living in those moments of the game. And I love the interaction of like the fans who like geek out when there's like certain pieces being played, or like especially again with Disney Worlds having the screen, you know, you're seeing the footage from the gameplay, the CGI to the
Yeah.
story, and so it's very in depth. It gave me a really in depth feeling, and it's great to see like how you, what you were saying, like being able to play this kind of music for audiences who appreciate this stuff. And it's true, like gaming music wasn't really a big thing, and I think even now today, like because it's growing so quickly, I know that there's other game music concerts. Like I know there was a Metal Gear Solid concert not too long ago that was around for a bit.
Hmm.
And the Kingdom Hearts is like they're slowly coming back, especially with Kingdom Hearts 3 that got released. Like there was more and more dates being announced, and I got lucky to go to the one in Detroit, and it was a really good experience, you know. And I got like almost front row seats, so to see the choir in the background, and then
Wow.
the arrangements and everything. It was really unique to see. And I guess, have you done anything else besides gaming music too? Like, have you thought about like going into like, I know anime is a big thing right now. I think in Japan they were having some anime concerts too, and I know they do like stage plays and stuff. So have you thought about like doing music for like anime?
Not as much yet, because I feel anime music is it's different. It's different from game music because how can you explain the difference? In a game, you have like sections where you stay in uh, in one place, and the music repeats, something like that. And then you have like scenical music, like the ending theme in Final Fantasy X, where there's a dramatic scene and Tidus fades away and stuff like that. I think it's just a different approach, and I don't know. I'm sure it's possible, but uh, I have actually never ever thought about it yet. But thank you for the idea. Yeah.
Yeah, because I know like with anime music, I know that it's a lot shorter than game music. I know game music has more length when it comes to the composition. I think there was, I don't know if you're familiar with this series, but My Hero Academia, they had
Yeah.
a concert in Japan,
Hmm.
and I saw the news on Crunchyroll, and it was so crazy because I was hoping that they'd come to the States too, and I would really love to go to that kind of concert. And I know music like that with composition and then mixing it up with like rock music. I think Black Mages, they did that with Final Fantasy music, where they made it
Yeah.
more rock styled, more modernized, and that's becoming a big thing too, with with mixing, rock music with classical music, and
Yes.
I think that's what's sort of catching on right now, and I think that's what anime music is kind of doing. So hopefully in the near future that they do have more concerts like that. But yeah, but with gaming music, man, it's the experiences are a lot different now. I know that with the more modern Final Fantasy games, they're doing that kind of genre too. Um,
Yeah.
and I know that you mentioned that you have multiple tours too. So right now, are you currently just like an independent artist where they contract you, or are you with a label at all?
I am actually an independent artist, but I'm signed with the Berlin label. It's called Neue Meister, which is German for new master, new masters, basically. Um, and so, New World tours are always organized by AWR Music, Arnie and Eric Roth, and their stuff. And then apart from that, I have other stuff going on. So I play solo recitals in Germany or, uh, I mean, wherever. Um, and then I have a agent. I mean, basically, I have different agents in every country. So I have an agent in China, and then I get calls from Japan sometimes, but it's always different projects. So sometimes it's game music, sometimes it's also I have actually played on anime soundtracks. I mean, gaming, anime, classical music, jazz music. I have a duo with my dad. So it's a lot of different projects, which keeps work a lot of fun, and yeah, it's always different.
And with that traveling that you do, like, and was there any like venues or any like places that you've been to where it really just stands out?
Whew. There have been a lot, and I think actually Nashville was pretty awesome. I like the crowd a lot and the vibe in Nashville a lot. Um, I mean, there are so many great places in the US. Also, Seattle is great. Uh, Chicago is great. New York is great. Then Australia is awesome. Also, New Zealand, Singapore. I mean, Malaysia. Kuwait was also amazing. I mean, every place had its vibe. I cannot really say, but I think Australia and New Zealand are pretty up there.
Knowing that you've been there like multiple times as well, like each time you go and perform in like certain countries or certain cities to just experience a new audience, is it still nerve wracking to you?
I must say, like back to Australia and New Zealand is always. I'm just super happy, and I'm so looking forward to going there again. And then when I'm there, I'm just like enjoying it. And it's really just always a great experience. I mean, basically, it's with every concert of a new world. It's the audiences are wonderful, the venues are wonderful. It's great also to hang out with my friend Eric. Uh, we have become pretty close over the years, and drinking beers in different countries, trying the beers. I'm German, you know.
To be able to still do a bit of touring on your tours seems really fun.
Yeah,
Yeah, and to just even travel like that, that's pretty. That must be a really neat experience too, because you know that you get to do what you love, and also get to express your art as well in different areas. And
exactly.
with everything that you've done over the years, it must. Do you still get taken back by it sometimes? Like just to know that, man, I'm really doing this kind of thing for my job. Like I'm really just playing music and doing what I love.
There's no day where I'm not thankful. Basically, I'm always very very happy. I mean, there have been so many people who have made this a great journey. Also, I have forgot to mention a very important one in Germany, Thomas Böcker, who basically did the Symphonic Fantasies concert, and he also helped me basically go to Japan the first time, and Japan also totally like hit me hard when I went there the first time. I just was like so flashed by the culture and the food, the people, and everything over there. It was so great. And also because of him, I was able to play with the LSO, the London Symphony Orchestra. I mean, it's basically the Star Wars orchestra, you know, like from the old Star Wars movies. And to play with such an orchestra, I mean, I was like, I'm really happy. I'm just really thankful to all the people on the journey, basically. And I think I couldn't have done it without them.
And I find it like really like it's crazy to see that all the things that a lot of us nerds or gamers grew up with are the things that are really popular right now. It's
Yeah.
and like you said, like Star Wars orchestras and stuff like that. Like back then, like where kids would get made fun of for liking are the things that even the adults like right now like, and
Yeah,
it's a great way for those of us who grew up with that kind of influence to be into that industry right now. And
totally.
it's crazy to see that, like you were saying, to be able to just play game music and stuff like that, just to be able to live off, to make a career out of that. And and since you've been playing music like this and touring, and I know that you do write your own music, are there any projects that you have that you're currently working on? Like, are you working on any new album at all, or making any new pieces at all?
Yes, I'm. This year there are several albums planned, basically. And I'm also planning on releasing an album with uh, my own music again. I did one album, when was that? Like 3 years ago or 4 years ago, where I just released a CD with my own compositions for piano, cello, violin, clarinet, and I'm planning on doing that again this year. And it's always really exciting to publish your own stuff because you know what your art is about and what you want to say with the music, and uh, to have it out there and giving it to people to try and listen to it is always very exciting.
And you play the other instruments yourself too, like the clarinet and violin and all that?
I used to play a little of trumpet, but when it was when I was about 14 or 15. But piano just takes so much time away. Like at that time, that I didn't have time for a second instrument, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, and with piano, I know like it's I don't want to say like it's time consuming, but it is a pretty difficult instrument as well, because like it's not just playing with both hands, but it's also a big instrument too. So to be able to play that, and to be able to just play the music on that, that's really amazing. And I know like a lot of people that I know, like they play piano, but not to the extent to where they're like on your level. And to be able to hear the way how you play, it's still amazing to this day. Because the first time I heard you play was back in the New World in Ann Arbor, and it was like
Yeah.
during one of the winter concerts. And
Ah, yeah.
yeah, so I remember that specifically because I remember the drive there to Ann Arbor. I had this really shitty truck, and me and a friend, we went, and I sat on the side where you were playing. So I was pretty much, I saw your back view playing the piano, and
Yeah.
that's the first time I ever saw you play. So it was really cool to know that, it's amazing to see someone like you play piano so effortlessly on there. Um, and
Thank you.
is there any tracks that you played, I guess, during on tour as well? Like any music that really stands out that were your favorites? I know you mentioned that you liked Those Who Fight, but were there any other, I guess, compositions that you enjoy playing, that that this is something that it's one of your favorites?
There's a lot. There's it's called Ivalice Landscapes, which is very nice from Final Fantasy 12. Um, Actually, I like Vanille's theme, which I'm playing currently, from Final Fantasy 13. Um, there are a lot. I mean, my favorite soundtrack most probably is, I can't really say, but my first Final Fantasy was 10, So it's always the first Final Fantasy you play, they say. So it's my favorite Final Fantasy. That's what I want to say. And
And that is mine as well.
yeah, and the music is so amazing. I think 10 is just because it was my first Final Fantasy, and the story just hit me so hard. The music just, I mean, from 10 is just for me, it has just this emotional attachment. Yeah.
Yeah, I think what it is too, because like, I know seven is a classic, and I know they have the remake coming out soon. But with
Yeah.
10, I think what it is like with Final Fantasy 10, the fact that that was the first game with voice acting, and
Yes.
and like, and they define those characters with the voices. You know, I think people kind of look over that, but it's such a huge moment in gaming and Final Fantasy itself to know that Final Fantasy 10 was one of the first games that got released for PlayStation 2, and that was such a huge console at that time. And
Yeah.
with the CGI, and then with the story, like I said, it was like a play, and uh, and it's very dramatic. It's you get attached to all the characters that are in this game, and up to the point where it's to the end where Titus leaves, and then you learn that plot twist, and it's so good. I think that's why it was one of my favorite Final Fantasies.
Yeah. In 10, there are like so many different layers. I mean, just like so many different atmospheres, and like the storytelling is awesome. And also, I mean, all these different areas, like a Macalania forest, and like it's just really a beautiful world they created over there. And there's so many things you can do in Spira too. You just like can walk around for ages, and then defeat the Dark Aeons. And I mean, really, it's such an awesome game. It reminds me a little bit of 8 now that I think of it, because 8 also has like so much things to do like after you finish the game, basically.
Yeah, and I think that's what really like got fans to still love the game more. Because I think for me, I put in over. I gotta say, I put in almost 200 hours into that game, if I remember correctly. And it's
10
and yeah,
or
for 10, and like
okay.
I never got sick of it. And then, like I didn't realize how crazy it was until I recently like looked back into like my PlayStation 2 stuff and put in the memory card. I'm like, whoa, I put 200 hours into this game, and even though I already
but
beat it, I did all like
but
the
it
side quests and everything.
but it goes by so fast. I mean,
Yeah.
I think you need 80 hours to clear the story or something like that. I'm not sure anymore, but I mean, there's so many stuff to do, and I mean, the hours just pass. It's just like I
What
can totally understand.
what are your thoughts on the Seven remake? I know like with Seven, that's one of Nobuo's biggest pieces when it comes to music, especially like the Sephiroth theme.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on the game that's coming out? Because I know like they're changing the story up a little bit, but it's still pretty much the same plot.
First, when I heard about the remake, I was pretty skeptical, and I wasn't sure whether Square can do it, basically, because looking at the last, I don't want to say anything bad, but I wasn't so taken by Final Fantasy 15.
Okay.
Um, it was like not my favorite Final Fantasy. Let's put it that way. I mean, I like 10 and 7 and 8 and 9. I like the old games because, uh, I mean, CGI and all these things are really great, but I really like the storytelling. Um, and in that sense, I mean, 15 was amazing. Had amazing graphics, great music. The world was beautiful. So many features like the food thing, and it was really funny too. But in terms of story, I wasn't sure. So when I heard about the Seven remake coming out, I wasn't uh, so sure first, but now seeing all these trailers and also listening to the music, and I'm really excited for it.
Because I know that you played some Final Fantasy VII music, so I did want to bring up this topic for sure, and
Yeah,
especially when it comes to the music. And I love every time that Seven gets like there's always like a side game like Crisis Core, or the music always gets better, and even though it's the
yeah,
same music you hear from the first game, you never get tired of it, and
yeah,
I can't wait to see how this game's gonna turn out. I know like a lot of people are like getting the demo already, but for me, I
yeah.
think I think I'm more, honestly, I feel like I'm more into the music. I can't wait to hear how they've composed it, or recomposed everything into the remake of 7.
I mean, what I heard is, I mean, it's the same with the story also, that they are also adding some completely new music.
Oh yeah, that's right. Because
So it's not only like the old stuff, but like a lot of new stuff too, which is really exciting too.
yeah, and I think they had like a theme for Final Fantasy 7 remake. Like there's I forgot who the singer was, but they had a singer that was supposed to be on the tour, or the new Final
Yes,
Fantasy 7 tour, but
yes,
because of the epidemic, they had to cancel it.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I mean, it's a really bad situation at the moment. I mean, Uh, March is cancelled. I guess April will be cancelled too, and in May also, the New World concerts have been postponed. But I mean, it's important that we that we do our best to not spread it and make it worse than it is, because I mean, at least I mean, from what I know, it's really not good for like elder people also, or people who have like a disease, or like how do you say it? I'm sorry, my English is so bad.
That's okay.
Like problems with their lungs, or like it can be really bad. So it's just like important to not spread it. Yeah, that's what I think. So it's the right measures to like cancel the concert right now. Yeah.
So before I wrap things up here, Ben, is there any plugs or shout out you like to say, or I guess, and also let fans know how to reach you on like social media?
Yeah, of course. So I'm on Facebook. Basically, you can find me under Benyamin Nuss. My Benjamin is it's actually Benjamin, but in Germany you say Benjamin, and my name is not written with a J, Benjamin, but with a Y, Benjamin. So Benyamin Nuss on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You'll find me. Yeah.
Yeah, and for those who are listening, I will have all those links in the description on YouTube, Apple Podcast, and
Oh yeah,
SoundCloud
YouTube. I
too.
forgot about YouTube. Sorry. Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Thank you.
Again, were there any, I guess, plugs or shout out you like to say too?
Thank you to everybody at Square, to Nobuo, everybody at AWR Music, Arnie and Eric Roth, and their wonderful stuff, and also to Thomas Böcker, and I mean basically all the great composers at Square, Yoko Shimomura and Masashi Hamauzu, Naoshi Mizuta. I could go on forever, but I will not. So thank you for everything, and also thank you, Ricky Wang, for inviting me on this podcast.
Yeah, and thank you for even making time for this. And I understand, like, it does get hectic sometimes with scheduling and everything, but this worked out so well, and I'm glad that I can be able to help share at least a part of your story in this in your career too. And I look forward to your next concerts, and hopefully by the time, if this epidemic gets over with, if you do come back to Michigan again, I'll do my best to be at one of your other concerts too.
Great. Are you from Michigan? Are you based
Yeah,
in Michigan? Okay.
yeah, because I've been to the New World concerts in Ann Arbor, and the ones in Grand Rapids.
Ah,
So like,
okay.
yeah, during the VIP sessions, I did get to meet you in
Yes, yes, yes. I remember. Yeah.
yeah, and you recognized me, so I thought that was
Yeah,
really,
yeah,
like, I was like low key, like I was geeking. I was like, whoa, the pianist knows who I
yeah.
am. Like, it was really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean the Ann Arbor date has been postponed to December, I think, right?
I'm not too
This,
sure. I wasn't keeping up with it. I just knew it was postponed.
yeah, I think it's some. I'm not, and I don't want to say anything wrong, but it's gonna happen definitely in fall or in winter. So maybe see you then.
Okay, for sure. And again, thank you again for being on the podcast. This has been such a great experience for me. And for the listeners, please again follow Benjamin, and make sure you guys go to any of the Distant Worlds or a New World Final Fantasy concerts. So this is Spoiler Force Podcast, episode 49. Thank you guys, and again, thank you, Ben, for the opportunity.
Thank you, Ricky.
All right, guys, have a great day. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to follow, like, share, subscribe, and rate Spoiler Force Podcast. For comments, questions, or criticism, you can email me at rickyvang92@gmail.com or message me on Instagram at instagram.com/rickyvang92.